I'm glad to be here. Just to introduce myself, my name is Houssney, and my farm is Jacob Springs Farm. We farm 450 acres here on the Front Range, regeneratively, which means we raise cattle and livestock and wheat and corn and other crops in a way that restores our soils, fosters our delicate ecosystems, like our wetlands, our riparian areas, and our grasslands, and produces nourishing food for our community. And this has been my passion since my family had the opportunity to emigrate here. I was born in a war-torn country, a country that was full of war and conflict, in a region that's still full of war and conflict. And don't let anyone convince you that the problem is terrorism. The problem is that our climate is failing our people, and drought is causing despair, hopelessness, poverty, and conflict. And so that conflict over there, my family was among the lucky ones that got to come here. The great privilege to get to move to Colorado, and my heart, my healing was in nature, was in learning to farm and learning to produce nourishing food for my family and for my community. And that's my passion, that's what I do every day. And I'm also the first minority or brown farmer to ever win a lease to farm public land of the OSMP. 70% of our agricultural farm workers in this state are members of minorities. 2% of farms and 0.5% of acreage is in the hands of those minority farmers. There's a big land injustice. And that's important to me, and I can't help but think that if more of our indigenous people and minority people who are frontline communities are more connected to the impacts of climate change, if they were actually put in the driver's seat of the farmland, maybe we would have a farming and an agricultural system that's more sensitive to the planet. So I got this privilege, this ability to work outside every day and to grow food for my community and to raise and interact with animals and to regenerate the soil and to sequester atmospheric carbon, and it's joyful and it's wonderful, and I get to be in the weather every day. And I've been noticing since I was 9 years old and I came here and I started working on farms that winters aren't what they used to be. Things are changing. And all the old farmers, all the old white farmers that I worked for, they used to deny climate change. They're not talking about that anymore. They all know it's real. We all see it on this warm winter day. There was a week before the fires when every morning I would wake up and it was in the 50s at dawn. And I'd walk outside and I told my farm team, this isn't normal. Our winters have been starting later. They've been shorter. They've been more intense. They've been more volatile. We don't know what's coming. It's hard to plant. This year on September 15th, I had to make a decision whether or not to plant wheat. We hadn't had real rain since June. I decided not to plant anything. And I was right. We would have lost the crop. Because the month of June was very wet. We had 7 inches of rain where we normally would have 1.5. Let me talk about the weather a little bit. The weather used to be boring to talk about, but now it's what's on our mind. We had 7 inches of rain in June. Woohoo! Great, right? We got a lot of rain. We got a lot of things growing. Once we cut that hay, the rain stopped. And we got pretty much no precipitation from then until the fires. And that's not a coincidence. Because for things to burn, you have to have vegetation to burn for a grass fire, and then it has to be dry, and it was really dry. I had never seen it that dry. And now I've only been outside working on farms for 35 years, but we can look back as long as people have been kind of writing it down, and this is the worst. We never had a first snow later than this year. This year's the driest. It's never been this hot in December, January. And so, big surprise, a little spark turns that into a tinderbox. And I was out there. When I saw the smoke, I thought my hay was on fire. I went out there with my truck, and I noticed that, no, it's a neighborhood. And there's horses in there and goats, so we started pulling them out. I kept going back in and back out, and every time I'd go in, I was just overwhelmed with the sight of homes all around me on fire. This is what climate change looks like, people.
Yep.
And you know, it's not just here. We had the longest tornado in the history of the world in Kentucky this year. It ripped the roof off of a warehouse where a bunch of people were just trying to work and feed their families. The Middle East. I work with farmers in Africa. When a mother is crying because her child is hungry, because the rains didn't come, that's connected. We're on one planet. This is the deal. And we need to make a change.
Yeah!
It's time.
We need change!
We can point the finger. If Polis won't do it, who's going to do it? If Polis can't do it, how can it be done? We got to have it done. Let's get it going. Our world is at stake. Thank you.